Hello, ladies. Welcome back to another episode of the Create and Grow Your Dream Business Podcast. I'm super excited because today we are going to be talking about how you're not mediocre. Okay. I'm coming with this message today because here's the reality. You've been playing small. You've been doubting yourself. You've been having all of these excuses of why you can't be more confident. And it's because somebody has lied to you and told you that you're mediocre. So I'm here today with this message to let you know you are not mediocre. And I'm going to dive in deep to explain how you can unfold your mindset from making you think that you are mediocre. Here's my opinion, right? I believe that you're in a space of believing you are mediocre because you're trying to be like everybody else that you're seeing, okay? And if you see the fact that my tongue is red, I've been drinking watermelon juice. I love it. But you are in an energy of comparison, right? You're going to continue to believe that you're mediocre if you continue to compare yourself to everything else and everybody else that you're seeing. This is a big mistake. Now, while yes, there is power in following strategies and steps of people that have been successful. There is power in that. But there is also an energy that takes away your power when you have become so consumed in following the algorithm, following how everybody else is showing up, following trying to look aesthetically branding like other people to the point where you think you can't move forward, you can't succeed. And that's what's causing you to be in a space of mediocrity. Let's talk about how this can show up for you in your business. You know that you can be putting yourself out there for more opportunities, right? You're fully aware of the fact that your goods are good, that you have natural gifts and skills and talents that you've been working on, and you have years of experience, and you've been in a space where you've been doing this and you feel like you're great. But yet, you aren't really showing up. You aren't really putting yourself out there. You're playing small. You're just like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll. That's mediocrity. It's mediocrity. Mediocrity is when you tell yourself that you're not good enough, that you need another certification, that you need another course, that you need another training, that you need another degree. That is an excuse that you're giving yourself to be mediocre. And let me tell you, transformation in your life truly happens when you stop and you begin to assess yourself and how great you are and the skills you have and the things that you've been through. What if I told you that in reality, the people that you're meant to help, that you've already been helping, that you will continue to help, they can care less majority of times about your certifications. What they're looking for is the journey that you've been through. But if you're underestimating your journey, if you're underestimating your transformation, if you're underestimating what you've been through, underestimating that will put you in a space of mediocrity because you're so busy looking to the left or looking to the right or comparing your story or your situation to someone else's that you can't see how great you are. Mediocrity is putting you inside of a space where you can't figure out what should be your next steps. How could you show up more vibrantly, more authentic? See, here it is, there it is, there it is. I know it will come out. Authenticity is what we're really talking about here, right? You will always find yourself in a space where you feel like you're mediocre when you are not being authentic, right? I can show you how mediocrity could show up in your business as well, or the lack thereof when it comes down to being authentic. You see everybody else jumping up on all of these reels and TikTok with all these different dance trends that they're doing and all of these different creative ways that they're showing up. And so now instead of you staying in your lane and you showing up in a way that's more authentic to you, you try to skirt turn the opposite way and try to be like them and dance like them. And this can cause you to stay stagnant, right? Let's be honest. Some of the biggest corporations, some of the biggest companies, some of the most successful people making impact, they notice that they do not have to jump on this big trend or anything of that nature, and they succeed from getting out of the box of mediocrity because they are continuing to show up and be themselves. So I'm asking you, how can you start to show up more and be more of yourself? You're not mediocre, you're not average, you're not just bottom of the barrel, you're not another crab inside of the basket. You are different. And if you can come to the reality with the fact that you are different, you can see so much more success in your business, and you can see so much more confidence in showing up. As I'm having this conversation, it makes me think about my little cousin Aaliyah. She's not really like super little, honestly. She's like 21, but she's younger than me, and she always listens to my podcast. And so I know one day when she listens to this episode, she's like, "Oh, you shouted me out." Yes, I did, because one of the things that Aaliyah and I have worked through personally and professionally is her realization that she's not mediocre and that she is different. She's majoring in art or interior design from Georgia Southern University in Savannah, Georgia, or in Statesboro, Georgia. And as an art major, one of the things that me and her truly talk about and dive deep into is how art has a way of putting you inside of a box. And this is going for any of you people listening to this who recognizes that creativity is the key to success, right? And so Aaliyah and I, we always work through shifting her mind for her to realize that it's her ability to be unique. It's her ability to be different that will allow her to stand out in the crowd. I remember her telling me that one of her professors told her, like, her and the whole class, that they don't even have a style. Like, while they may have came to class and thought that they knew, what they were doing or how to show up and things like that, the professor told them, like, you guys don't even have a style yet. Like, what you think you like, you don't even have a style. And I remember her mentioning that maybe herself and some others kind of like got a little offended by that, because, of course, when you're like in your junior year in college and you've been really like knocking it out and trying to get good grades and trying to develop yourself, for somebody to come to you and say, like, you don't even have a style yet, that can offend you, right? And what she and I worked together was the mindset of recognizing that sometimes when you think that you know the pathway that you're going down, you still have room to grow. You still have room to develop. We've all seen it happen. When I first started off in business, I started off as a finance coach, right? I used to love helping women budget and get their weekly budgets together and their monthly budgets together. I used to love working through that. And then as I've grown, because I thought that was my style, but I did not allow myself to stay trapped inside of that box. I've recognized that what my style is really helping you boost your confidence, helping you change your mindset to see that you're so much more valuable than just showing up in a mediocre way, right? So Aaliyah and I, we always talk through this and we always work through this. And it's really a conversation about her, just like everybody else, recognizing that you're not mediocre, and that sometimes it's hard for us to understand that because we're so used to trying to like put ourselves inside of a box or follow like what our teachers say, what our professors say, what our parents say, what our boss say, what our leaders say. But sometimes in order for you to step outside of the mediocrity arena, you have to step outside the box. Here's how this shows up as an employee in your job. Your company may say, you need to be in your role for 6 months in order for you to move up, right? But what you recognize is that you're so good at what you're doing, you can flourish in more than 6 months. You then have to ask yourself, do I stay at this company? Do I keep myself small? Do I keep myself inside of this box, right? And do I stay inside this energy for 6 months, in which possibly you do, right? And then you decide to move up. But in the meantime, if you know that you're willing to stay, then your actions that you would take is that in the meantime, you show up in ways that prove that you aren't mediocre. So then that way, while the average person may have went from the step that you were at, and then after 6 months they can go to like one step higher. Yours would be, because you're so much more than mediocre, yours would be that you would go from right here to the fact that you still showed up authentically, the fact that you still put time and energy into developing yourself. You can go to this level up here, or maybe you leave that company altogether and you go to another company where you are able to utilize your gift, skills, and talent so much more. Oftentimes we get caught up in this one job because this is all we know, or you get caught up in that same one career path because it's all you know. Maybe your family told you that this is what you should be doing, or maybe you thought that that's all you could do. But I'm here to tell you that it's your dream life to create, right? It's your dream business to create. The only way you're going to be able to create the dream is if you recognize that you're not mediocre. Anybody that has a dream, you're not mediocre, right? And I know that you aren't mediocre because you're listening to this podcast episode. It's just here right now, the confirmation that you need to confirm you are not mediocre, right? And you should not even be surrounding yourself with people who make you feel like you're mediocre, whether it's family or friends. It's time for you to move around. It's time for you to surround yourself with other people who push you past your comfort zone, right? That's why I enjoy so much the Women Becoming More Challenge, because it's those 3 days for you to recognize that you can show up in such a more powerful way, a way that doesn't look anything like mediocrity. That is totally available for you right now. The question is, how much are you willing to improve yourself and develop yourself in order for you to truly see that shift inside of yourself, right? Another part that I want to talk about is how mediocrity, the up leveling of mediocrity, it doesn't come inside of a day. And here's where people get lost inside of the sauce. You automatically see somebody else doing something that you feel like is so awesome, and now all of a sudden you want to do that same thing as well. And it's not that there's anything wrong with you doing that same thing as well. It's just that you have to see that the opposite of mediocrity is greatness, and greatness takes time. Greatness takes time. It's going to take time for you to develop yourself. It's going to take time for you to develop your personal brand. It's going to take time for you to develop your skills. It's going to take time for you to develop your style. It's going to take time for you to develop your messaging and how you show up to your audience, and getting even more clear on who you want to help and how you want to help them. It's going to take time for you to create and grow your dream business. But if you aren't willing to put the time in that it takes to develop yourself, you're only going to be mediocre, right? Oftentimes people want change, but they want to continue to be the same. How does that work? It doesn't, right? So what you're recognizing now from this conversation inside of this space is that your life is calling for you to take it to the next level, but how much are you willing to put in? And like we said in the previous episode, how many seeds are you willing to plant? How often are you willing to reevaluate and realign and readjust and revolutionize yourself to recognize that you're always growing and you're always developing, right? How often are you willing to be inside of that space where you're willing to learn and grow personally? Right? We always want change, and we want all this money, and we want 5-figure and 6-figure businesses, and we want to be the best of the best. And we want to get paid all the money at our job. But how much are you working on yourself personally? See, personal transformation is where it all comes from. One thing I've truly learned in business, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, is that the saying is not what you know, is who you know. That is so true, because here's the thing. People want to work with other people who they feel like have worked on themselves. I'm going to say that again. People want to work with other people who they feel like have worked on themselves, right? What good is it for you to be a person who has 10 degrees, and then when somebody work with you, you're stiff, you're stale, you're mean, you're stuck up, you're anxious, right? You're depressed. Who wants to work with a person like that? No one wants to. Who wants to work with a person who does not have the ability to socialize with others? No one wants to work with that type of person. But that's the type of person you become when you have not started to work on yourself. And when you don't work on yourself, that's how you become mediocre. That's how you stay in the energy of mediocrity. That's why I'm telling you right now that your life is calling for you to take it to the next level. You just have to be willing to work on yourself in the meantime. It's the meantime, it's the in the meantime work that really transforms you. It's on those days where you don't feel good. It's on those days where you don't feel like it. It's on those days where you don't feel like showing up, right? That you still work on yourself. See, when we work together, one thing that I love that I help my clients work through is that we work through the personal confidence side of it first, right? We work through the personal confidence of it. How do you feel personally? Because again, what happens if tomorrow you get the dream job that you wanted and they're paying you that dream amount that you want? They're like, oh, yeah, it's nothing. We can cut you the check, $350,000 a year, stock investments, equity. We'll give you a beach house. We'll give you that Tesla. Yeah, everything will be great. We'll give you a $95,000 advance. But then you feel like crap. So then you show up in a mediocre way. Do you not think that that whole thing can be snatched away from you because energetically you're not a vibrational match for the opportunity, right? Opportunities are there for you to create for yourself, but what happens if you're just showing up in a mediocre way? One thing that I also help my clients get work through as well is the content piece of showing up in the business. And oftentimes, again, when we think about content, we think about like, oh, okay, I got to do reels and I got to do lives and I got to make sure my hashtags on point and I got to do all of that is very much so relevant in business. But when we work together, I help you gain clarity on that internal content, because that's how you create content that's evergreen. That's how you create content that feels good. When you're clear of what it is that you have going on internally, when you're clear on your why, when you're clear on your purpose. See, when you become very clear on those things, it's almost no way that you can show up mediocre, right? Because you're coming from a message within, versus if you just was the type of person where you didn't want to gain much clarity on like who you serve and how you serve them, your why, your purpose, your story, and then you expect to just hop on the first, second, and third Instagram or TikTok trend. Yeah, you might get a whole bunch of views and a whole bunch of likes, but that job is not going to last, right? You'll go right back to being mediocre because you're not inside of your purpose. So if you're feeling like you are showing up in a mediocre way, I want you to ask yourself, are you operating in your purpose? I want you to ask yourself, how are you feeling in your confidence arena personally? Personally, do you really feel like you're operating in your why? Do you really feel like you're operating in that space of saying, like, you know what? This is my purpose. This is why I was put here. This is what I'm meant to do. And this is what I'm going to show up and talk about every single day, because it's what I'm meant to talk about. And when I talk about it, I feel enthusiastic and I feel happy. And when I sell this product, I feel great. That's how I want you to feel. And that's how we work together to feel when we work together. And this is whether you're a corporate entrepreneur, whether you are an executive in the C-suite, whether you are a CEO, whether you are a founder, you can still be mediocre in that position as well. Trust me, I've worked in corporate environment where I've seen people at the top of the top of the top in these top positions, and their energy is still mediocre. They may do their job, but to others who are looking for assistance from thought leaders, those people are still showing up in a mediocre type of way. I don't want you to be that. I don't want you to be that person, that thought leader, that person in authority who makes all of the money, but your energy is still mediocre. I want you to have high energy. I want you to have energetic energy. I want you to have passionate energy, purposeful energy. That doesn't mean that you will have a personality just like mine where you're like, yes, let's get it. Let's engage. Let's boost morale. Let's feel confident. It doesn't mean that you will show up exactly like me, but here's one thing that I do know for sure, because I worked with so many different personality types. You can have a chill personality and still not be mediocre. You can be an introvert and still not be mediocre. You can be an extrovert and still be mediocre. You know what I mean? The opposite of mediocrity is authenticity, right? And so that's what I want you to ask yourself this month, when you're showing up in your business, when you're showing up at your job, when you're showing up in these positions where you should be showing up as a leader. Are you showing up basic, or are you showing up as the next level? Are you showing up mediocre, or are you showing up authentically, right? And so this is just an empowering message to you, short but sweet, to remind you that you are not mediocre. The people that will come and want to work with you, they're not mediocre. The people who work up under you, they're not mediocre. The people who work above you, they should not be mediocre. I want you to start to recognize when you see mediocrity in your life, because I want you to know that, again, mediocrity is the is the sure sign that you're not seeing authenticity, because when a person is showing up in their authentic way, it shines through them, it radiates through them, they're vibrant. I could just think about like a nerd or somebody at Geek Squad, right? And I'm kind of a nerd myself, so I'm not calling out the nerds. Yeah, nerds unite, okay? I can think about a person who works at Geek Squad that is the best of the best when it comes down to doing the computer stuff, right? They're showing up in a way that's not mediocre. They're putting more into the job. They're the person that, instead of them just here's the example. Instead of them just being a regular employee who's working for a paycheck, when your computer broke and then you go into Best Buy and then you get somebody over there from Geek Squad and you're like, hey, my computer's broke, and they're just like, yeah, I can fix it for you. It's going to be $297. It's the hard drive. Yeah, we can have it fixed for you in 24 hours. Okay. Put down your name on a piece of paper, your email address, phone number, pay at the front, and we'll call you when it's done. All right, thanks. Do you see how they still got the job done, but the energy is so mediocre? Versus someone else who may work in the Geek Squad, who is showing up authentically because they're passionate and they're purposeful about helping people fix their computers. They'll be like, okay, yeah, I see. It's the hard drive. But let me tell you one thing else that I noticed also. It's this, that. So what I'll do for you is I'll fix the hard drive for you, but then also I'll show you how to do this system. And then what I'll do too is I'll show you how to, when you make videos, since I noticed that you like a lot of videos, do you see they noticing things that you didn't even have to point out that's being more authentic, it's being something past mediocre. I noticed that since you download a lot of videos, I want to teach you how to do this over here, and you need another terabyte, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. I'll fix it all for you. Don't worry about it. Yes, okay, it's going to take a couple days, might even take more than 24 hours, maybe it might take 72 hours, but I'll fix it for you. I'm super happy to help, and I'll let you know everything I've done. Do you see how that person doesn't even have to be like all over the top, all over the place? Because sometimes I know that there's something that you have in the back of your mind too, is that you try to be like an extremist, where you're like, well, that's not my personality type. I'm not the type to just be, talking to everybody. And I'm not the type to just be like loud and happy and bubbly and giggly. Well, guess what? That's not the only personality type. You don't only have to fall into a category of extrovert and introvert. You can decide to be more than mediocre. You can decide to show up in your authentic way, still keeping your personality, but recognizing that it's time for you to stop doing the bare minimum. It's time for you to stop doing the bare minimum when it comes down to leveling up your confidence. It's time for you to stop doing the bare minimum when it comes down to you working on yourself personally and professionally. It's time for you to stop doing the bare minimum at your job, just going to work for that paycheck every 2 weeks. It's time for you to stop doing the bare minimum by saying that you're going to post stuff about your business on social media, but the only thing you do is scroll all day and look at other people's page and then compare yourself to them and try to figure out why you're still mediocre. It's time for you to stop showing up like that. Yep. And it's time for you to start showing up in your more authentic way. If you're listening to this message and you recognize that authenticity is something that you need to start to work on and start to get more clarity on, type authenticity in the comment section and I will be sure to reach out to you and we can talk about ways that we can work together so that way you can stop showing up mediocre. If you know that this message was good for you as well, I want you to share this message with a friend. Share this message with your business bestie. Empower someone else, right? Invite your friends and yourself to our Women Becoming More Challenge. It's a 3-day personal and professional confidence boosting challenge. We work together 3 days live where I help you show up more authentically, personally, and inside of your business. I'm telling you, it's a transformational challenge. It's free. You don't want to miss it. You can find out more information about the challenge link down below. I'm super excited to see you there. And again, if this message was great, be sure to share it with a friend because again, you're so much more than mediocre. Any women who I work with, any thought leaders who I work with, any entrepreneurs who I work with, we're so much more than mediocre. You are so authentic. You have so many gifts and skills and talents, and they're right there. They're brimming on you. They're at the tip of your tongue. They're just waiting for you to show up in ways that feel good to you and that look good to you. But those ways are outside of your comfort zone. They're outside of that comfort zone box, and they're waiting for you to show up like that. I'll see you at the Women Becoming More Challenge.